Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 How to Create a Prosperity Mindset. And there was another word in there, flourish, which is a big, Marty Seligman positive psychology kind of word, which means to sort of, taking all this good while at the same time, sort of reducing some of the negative factors in our lives as well. So the flourish word is also a really good one. And then also in those definitions, there was an overlap with the word thrive. And I love that because we have survive, which we are all, wired to do, and thrive, which we can become wired to do. And I have to admit, I know, I just counted the countries where my listeners are coming from just yesterday. We're up to 49 now, which is extremely cool. And I don't know how many of you. Also, it's an age thing. So if you're younger, you may not know about Star Trek, but it's a series that's a kind of a sci-fi series. Takes place in the future, of course. So Star Trek, for Trekkies, you'll know about Vulcans, and so uh, Spock is a main character on there. So when I think of prosperity, I also think of the classic Vulcan, the finger split, live long and prosper. And even if you're not aware of Star Trek, live long and prosper is a really good mantra to be saying to ourselves. And I guess, I'd like to start off with what a good friend of mine from St. Mike said to me years ago. We were kids. We were on a retreat um, out in the woods someplace, and we were talking about abundance. Somehow there must have been a talk, and somebody said something. I don't remember where it came out of because, I'm 55. He's probably 54 right now. And this is way back when we were, 19 years old or something. And he said, we were talking about abundance, and he said it's infinite. It's just abundance is infinite. And it's kind of like, people think that if I take my share, there won't be enough left for somebody else or something. And that has stayed with me for all of these years. And this guy is wonderful. I have to tell you, he's wonderful. And I thought, wow. And in my head, I don't know at the time if I was thinking, how did they cram all that wisdom into a college kid? But wow, he had a lot of wisdom crammed into him. I'll tell you that because I think a lot of people really think that, like life is like pizza or something. So if we had our one piece and then we, kind of slide up to the box and grab another one, that we have this guilt because by us taking a second piece or maybe a third piece, that therefore that leaves less for somebody else. And even though I don't think we consciously think that, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And it obviously, I mean, there's some I don't know, irony here or something as we think about like the stars. Well, the stars any day or night, okay, any night. But think of August. For some reason, I'm thinking of August because at least here in the States, this usually the second week of August, the shooting stars it's like a show, just goes crazy for about a week, just shooting stars all over the place. And that enough is enough to captivate us into the infinity, the infinite wonder of the universe. We think of the ocean and how vast, and there's all kinds of animal species we haven't even identified yet, right? They're in the depths of the deep end of the ocean. It's infinite, of course, especially space. And to think for a second that us accepting goodness, like just openly receiving it, can take from anybody else is ludicrous, although we still do it. So it must be, in our wiring somehow, or maybe culturally, or maybe it comes from religion. I know our family's Catholic, and just actually with Thanksgiving recently, with some lovely appetizers out and some stuffed mushrooms and shrimp, and typically somebody, you look over the plate and there's one shrimp left or one piggy in the blanket left or one stuffed mushroom left. And then we'll joke and say, oh, that's Catholic guilt, leaving one left. We leave one left. And that is a conditioned thing. And then, we make the joke about Catholic guilt, and then somebody will then eat it usually, because once we give permission to eat that last shrimp, all of a sudden it's okay. and then you have three people reaching for the same shrimp. It happens every single year. And obviously, you don't have to be Catholic to have that guilt. I think it's something that many of us learn, and it is learned because if you watch 2-year-olds, right, and there's a certain amount of cookies on the plate, they'll have no trouble grabbing that last cookie. Until an adult comes along and says, no, 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 leave it there. Oh, and one more thing before we continue here, I'm going to ask all of you for your patience. I'm learning some new tricks with this podcast, and apparently, you can leave me messages that I can then add to the podcast. So that would be just so cool. So especially with 49 countries listening, right? So I shared the link. I'm hoping it worked. I have not done this before. So please feel free to leave me a message, and you can label it or something like that. And then I can go back through and listen to these and get to know you, which is just the coolest thing ever. And also, use what you say potentially in another episode. That would just be amazing. So please feel free to send me a message. Okay, then. So moving, forward here, wonderful listeners, this abundance thing, I think a lot of us don't really stop to think of the abundance of the universe. And again, one real, sobering way to do that is to go outside at night and look at the stars. That is one quick way to kind of remind ourselves, very visually of the vastness. And it, reminds us so quickly that we're a grain of sand on a very, very big, infinite beach. Okay, so we've got that guilt thing that comes along with believing that life, vast, vast, endless, infinite life, is like a pizza. And if we, gratefully accept our piece, that means that there's, somehow that's taking away from somebody else. The next big one that kind of prevents us from receiving, all these gifts and all this goodness in our lives is deep. It is deep. It's when we're not feeling worthy, we're not feeling enough. That is obviously, an overall, not feeling our own value. When we are not feeling our own value, it is very difficult. That's just a huge block because we cannot, accept all this goodness, all this greatness when we don't believe that we deserve it. Kind of speaking how the universe works, I'm about to, share some things that you from a book by Louise Hay. And honestly, this book has been in my library, my own. Obviously, I read voraciously. I just love reading. This book's been on my bookshelf for at least a couple of decades. And though I'm sure I opened it at one point, it's been probably a couple of decades. And all of a sudden, I just kind of pulled it off the shelf. I was thinking about the Minecraft podcast, and I was like kind of pulled to it. It's wild. And then I opened up to the prosperity piece, and it's kind of wild how this kind of gels with what, where my thoughts were. And just kind of, it was kind of, I don't know, serendipitous, I guess is what to say. So Louise Hay, she wrote this book, You Can Heal Your Life. And this particular part it's wild because I literally opened it up to this page, which is just so crazy. So it says, she says, if we do not accept the idea that we deserve to prosper, then even when abundance falls in our laps, we will refuse it somehow. Wow, is that the truth? I don't know if any of you have had that experience, and not just of maybe with yourself, but with maybe somebody in your life who has that pattern. And I'm going to get to the third point after we kind of, cover this one, though I do want to kind of plant the seed there that at least I picture us, I do love baseball, I picture us as having like an open, baseball glove, like a mitt where the universe could toss a ball in for creating a good business, for a wonderful relationship, for writing a novel, for whatever. And it's like if our glove is closed or we're sitting on it or it's not even on our hand at all, we can't catch the ball. And this is kind of what I'm picturing with this. We can't catch the ball if the baseball glove isn't open. And there are all sorts of ways, if you watch a baseball game, there are all sorts of ways to miss a ball. Again, closed glove, not paying attention. There's all kinds of ways. And certainly one of the big ones, or if not the biggest one, is not believing in our own value, because that's like not just a closed baseball glove, or just not paying attention or not having it on our hand. It's kind of like not believing that we are worthy of being on the ball field to begin with. So this value thing is huge. This is this belief is just extremely limiting. And Louise talks about this. She says that our own belief in lack and limitation is really the only thing limiting us. The intention is what is going to be successful, right? What's going to be successful. So therefore we don't want all this intention, all this, spiritual intention to go someplace negative. So she talks about, Louise say, whatever we concentrate on increases. Again, lots of people saying this. Whatever we concentrate on increases, so don't concentrate on your bills, just for an example. If you concentrate on lack and debt, you will then create more lack and debt. And if you'll remember my dear friend Oprah Winfrey, remember, she just isn't aware. She's such a good friend. I love her. She has talked about this over and over again in different shows, even if that wasn't the topic, right? Because it is so true that where we focus our energy, that's where things start to manifest. So we don't want to be focusing on what we don't have. It will create more lack. So right now I'm having this thought, maybe after we're through having our discussion, to try to go for a walk or something, or, just go find a quiet place and ask yourself if this is true for you. If this is true for you and this is your blocker, ask yourself, what belief is limiting me? Or beliefs, what belief or beliefs are limiting my ability to accept all the greatness, all the goodness that life has to offer? What is in my way? And Louise even talks about, she said that the very first time she heard the concepts, or somebody, rattled this off, the abundance of the universe is available to everyone. The abundance of the universe is available to all of us. She said she thought this was ridiculous. And then Louise Hay goes on to say, she said, be sure you are not rejecting prosperity now. If a friend invites you to lunch or dinner, accept with joy and pleasure. Don't feel you are just trading with people. If you get a gift, accept it graciously. If you can't use the gift, pass it on to someone else. I like that, because like the whole regifting thing also has a negative. Like, if God forbid you're caught throwing something in a new gift bag with a new card to somebody else, who cares? Because the idea is that gift is going to land where it needs to land to serve its purpose with somebody else. I think that's a good thing myself. She also says, keep the flow of things moving through you. Keep the flow. I like the word flow. The work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi too. Flow. Keep things moving through you. Just smile and say thank you. Just smile and say thank you. Love those words. In this way, you let the universe know you are ready to receive your good. And I'm also having a thought about a couple of previous episodes here too. And we talked about becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, because many of us, including myself, had, and us, obviously no one is a perfect childhood, we're not saying that. Many of us, though, also had a lot of turbulence and a lot of emotional, pain and challenges and things like that. So we may have to work ourselves into a place of becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, meaning that goodness we may not have been used to, that feeling of goodness and that feeling of abundance and, gifts coming from the universe and all of that. And so it may take us a little bit, and obviously the beginning of that is to become aware. So if you're listening to this podcast at all, there's been a switch flipped on in you that was really kind of maybe looking for a change. And becoming comfortable with this good feeling takes practice like anything else. I say that in many episodes. What we practice or rehearse, we inevitably get good at. We can get good at accepting compliments. We can get good at feeling good about ourselves. It may take some work. It will take some work, probably. And we can become good at this. And we also know with the law of attraction, goodness attracts more goodness. I mean, that's a fact. We can just cite people. I could spend all day saying people who said that. Goodness attracts more goodness. Positivity attracts more positivity. And saying thank you is a really good way to attract more good things into our lives. And actually, I was just listening to Denzel Washington yesterday. He's a wonderfully motivational speaker in addition to being a really good actor, and he's big on saying thank you, big on gratitude. Gratitude brings more goodness into our lives. So by practicing gratitude, I like to use the word cultivate. By cultivating gratitude and saying, I am grateful for, or just say thank you, brings more. It opens up that baseball glove, is what I'm saying. It opens up that baseball glove. It's on the hand. We're in a ready position to catch and keep the goodness that the universe has to offer. Like saying, pick me, right here. Throw it over here. I got it. Okay, so far we have the big blockers, the big three blockers of being able to receive the abundance that the universe has to offer. Is the first thinking that life's like a pizza or a apple pie or something, and taking more than our slice is going to take away from somebody else. So there's that guilt. The second one is not valuing ourselves, right? Because it's difficult to expect to be valued externally when it's missing on the inside. So that's one I think most people know. And then the third one may not seem as deep, but it's such a blocker just as much as the valuing thing. And that is time. Because often, especially in the good old US of A, and I love my country, we are a fast-paced society and we run around like gerbils on crack. And the universe, let's say that the universe has a novel ready to be written, or a children's book or a movie script, uh, an incredibly lucrative, creative, entrepreneurial business to start, any of this. And it's kind of like it's all out there. All that creativity is floating around. And a catcher's mitt can be on the ground. It can be closed. We cannot be paying attention. We can also be zipping around, again, not paying attention actually to what's trying to land in our glove. And it's like kind of like, um, if we are so busy running around like gerbils on crack, that novel that's waiting to be written, that business that's waiting to be started, or that relationship that's meant to, just as wonderfully meant to be a relationship, it's like spirit, or however you want to fill that in with your own faith. God, spirit, universe, creator of all things, whatever, is going to pick somebody else. So really, this comes down to, instead of adding, it's really a less is more situation. We've got to, actively hack away at the inessentials, hack away at these things daily that we do not need to be doing, and really, get a grip on our life minutes and spend them like they're cash, because we only have so much emotional energy in a day, right? So if we're wasting it, kind of like taking a match and, lighting $100 bill, or, euros, or whatever your currency is, and just lighting a flame to it, that's not different than us consciously just blowing our life minutes on things that aren't important. It takes that time, that precious, valuable time away. And it also takes our ability to be receptive to writing this new novel, to entering into this fabulous new relationship, to acquire this wonderful job, or to meet this wonderful stranger who becomes a friend, who becomes a link to that job, or whatever. It completely puts a kibosh on that. When we're flying around like gerbils on crack, we're going to miss these opportunities. We're going to be blind to them. And then lastly, it's very, very important to stay focused on ourselves, and I mean a good way. Taking care of you is a good thing, and that's another thing. At least we over here in the wonderful U.S. of A. We often have guilt over self care and focusing on ourselves in a good way. All right, and this also means just not to involve ourselves in other people's business. And when we are actively trying to open ourselves up to and be receptive to prosperity and abundance, it's kind of like cleaning out a closet in a way. Only picture the metaphor for ourselves. We need to create a vacuum, and then creativity will come rushing in. And another blocker to that is sort of noticing that someone else's prosperity, right? And getting jealous, envious, resentful. That is not what we want to do. It can be tempting, but again, that's going to draw our energy and our attention and intention away from where we want it to be. We don't want that energy, trying to take down somebody else, because where our energy goes, that's what happens. We instead forget about them. We stay out of their business, right? Their business has nothing to do with you. And remember the pizza thing. Them taking 3 extra pieces does not affect how many slices of pizza you get, because it's infinite. It's infinite. So we don't care. We say, go ahead, good for you. You're prosperous. That's fantastic. Way to go. Has nothing to do with you. Shift that attention and intention back to your own life. Let them be prosperous. Let go of any resentment, any jealousy, any of it. We don't care. There's enough pizza for everybody. So next, I'm big on visualization. I like how Louise says it. She does make a connection to money too. There can be health and relationships, everything. And she talks about your prosperity consciousness. I like that. Your prosperity consciousness is not dependent on money. Your flow of money is dependent upon your prosperity consciousness. What we create in our minds, there is the power. The mind is the power. And she says, as you can conceive of more, more will come into your life. Again, we know this, so many people. As you conceive of more, more will come into your life. I love the visualization, she says, of standing at the seashore, looking out at the vast ocean and knowing that this ocean is the abundance that is available to me. Look down at your hands and see what sort of container you are holding. Is it a teaspoon? A thimble with a hole in it, a paper cup, a glass, a tumbler, a pitcher, a bucket, a wash tub, or perhaps you have a pipeline connected to this ocean of abundance. I love that. Pipeline connected to this ocean of abundance, just infinite. Look around you and notice that no matter how many people there are, and no matter what kind of container they have, there is plenty for everyone. You cannot rob another, and they cannot rob you. And in no way can you drain the ocean dry. I love this. Your container is your consciousness, and it can always be exchanged for a larger container. Do this exercise often to get the feelings of expansion and unlimited supply. I like that a lot. And then Louise talks about this one little thing she does, which is interesting because I've mentioned to you, I haven't picked this book up in forever. And it's amazing how this just pulled at me, because I do this too. Very often, when I go out onto our back deck, we've got this wonderful woods there, and I'll just swing my arms just wide open, like I'm, going to hug the world or something. And for me, it is God. I say, "Good morning, God." And for you, it can be the universe or higher power, whatever, creator of all things. And it's just that by physically, swinging my arms open wide, the body and mind are so connected, right? By swinging my arms open wide, I actually feel like I'm kind of hugging the world. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but I really do. I feel this openness, this receptivity. I feel like that baseball glove that's wide open, ready to catch whatever good things are meant to happen in that day. And this is something I would strongly suggest you do. Louise Hay says she does this at least once a day with her arms stretched out to the side. And this is her little mantra here. She says, "I am open and receptive to all the good and abundance in the universe. I am open and receptive to all the good and abundance in the universe. I would strongly suggest making this your mantra, especially if you're just starting out on this path and beginning to feel comfortable with goodness. Say it again. Say it loudly. I am open and receptive to all the good and abundance in the universe. Yes. And on that note, I'd like to remind you that you can now leave me messages. I hope I did this correctly. If not, I'll figure it out. But please try to leave me a message if you'd like to. And I will say thank you, Minecrafters across the world, for listening today. For listening, and thank you for all my Minecrafters listening across the world. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.